everybody. It is Joy and Tim,
Hey,
and
everybody.
and we are back for another edition of Live and Found number 40.
40. We are in episode 40.
So today we're going to talk about Tim, why isn't AI recommending my business?
Well, I think that's the number one question that we hear a lot. And what we're going to talk about today is it's really not an AI problem, it's a communication problem. So, what we're saying with that is let's really think about what AI is doing and what it's trying to do. Um, we're what their businesses wonder, they're asking AI questions, they're asking about themselves, they're not seeing themselves. We saw this yesterday in a seminar we were part of, and people assume that AI is actively choosing between them and other businesses. But what we've learned, and we know the deeper reality is AI can't really confidently talk about a business it doesn't confidently understand. So the issue isn't really why isn't it talking about my business? The real issue is it's the confident. Why isn't AI confident in my business? So AI doesn't punish a business it feels it doesn't like. It rewards those that it feels confident with.
Well, and yesterday I was talking to somebody and I brought up the point that right now we're in a grace period. And the grace period is AI is learning. It's learning who you are, what your business is, what services you offer. Once that learning period, and God, if that hasn't been in the news lately, once that learning period is starts to close or that window starts to close, then your opportunity, I don't want to say is over, but it's smaller, it's narrower to get AI to recognize your business.
AI is maturing, and I love that word maturing.
Yeah, you use that.
I use that a lot. When we talk, I use it a lot. It's maturing, and part of that maturation process is it grows confident, and it doesn't like. I guess the best analogy I have is AI doesn't like to play Mad Libs. It likes to play jigsaw puzzles. So it doesn't want to fill in the gaps. It wants to take a piece. Oh, this piece makes this piece stronger and fit them together, and then fit another piece in and another piece in until it creates a, a beautiful starting point where that's where it reaches a confidence and it says, "This is my answer. This business is my answer."
Well, and some of the pushback that we get is if AI is so smart, why can't it figure it out?
Yeah. Why doesn't it fill in those blanks? Um, I think the real term we're looking at right now is AI wants to remove uncertainty.
Yeah.
It just makes uncertainty makes it hard for it to manage. Okay. So the misconception is that AI is so smart it can fill in those blanks. It can't because it wants to make sure it's confident and it feels, and I'm giving it a human term, but it feels confident in that answer. So it, I would say the real issue is not smart. It wants clarity. Think of it this way: for someone who was born in their hometown or has lived there a long time, there's references that people that move into town don't know. They say all the time where the old Kroger was at,
Right.
or you know where the this statue used to be. To somebody new to town or a visitor to town, they have no idea what you're talking about. So AI is similar to that new person in town. It doesn't understand something unless it has that clear pathway to that information And the clearer the pathway, the more understanding AI has.
Well,
Clarity reduces that need for inference that long time that humans have.
well, and one of the things that we have found in our research is, specifically with Perplexity, is it's willing to go pretty far to look for sources. And yesterday I used this as an example. So it looks at your website, looks at your bio page, looks at your website, then it will filter down. So let's say your website is thin, then it goes to the next source. The next source is a directory. You haven't updated that directory in 5 years, so AI doesn't trust that either. Then it goes to LinkedIn. Well, you don't post on LinkedIn. You don't haven't updated your profile on LinkedIn, so that's not a verifiable source. Then it goes and then on and on and on and on. You
And,
know,
and, and I think one of the things we have to realize is the more that it has to go on and on and on, the less confident it feels in what it's already learned. And it gets to a point where it says, I have no confidence in what this is being presented to me. So I'm going to move on to what's next. And that what's next is usually somebody else. Does that make sense?
or it guesses or hallucinates.
Yeah. And I think we have to realize that hallucinations and guessing are two different things. Okay. Guessing doesn't mean AI is making things up. It's not a hallucination. We're talking about situations where the information does exist, but the meaning's not explicit enough for AI to use. And those are different problems. It means AI is trying to connect incomplete pieces of information, and and that's probably a much more accurate model of what it's trying to do. Is it's trying to connect this information and this information and make that connection. And that's where the guessing happens. Where hallucinations are, let's make up an answer because I don't have an answer for it.
Right, right. So, um, and we know, I mean, through our research, we know where AI is going and looking and searching. And it's fascinating that it's local because depending on the state or the location, it pulls different sources. So that's another factor that a business has to consider. So, what does it mean when you need to communicate with AI clearly?
Well, I think sometimes what um, we think clear communication means, writing simpler, writing shorter. I think sometimes businesses, and I know sometimes businesses fall into the keyword trap where
Yeah,
they want to just load their website or load their content with a bunch of keywords. And some even go the other way and they load with overly technical terminology. And these may or may not help, but the but they aren't the definition of really what that business is. The business AI is looking for context, and it scans for context and meaning. So on a web page, AI is not going to use the whole page. What it's going to do is it's going to scan for context and meaning, and it uses the pieces that it understands. And if those pieces lose understanding outside of the web page, that confidence is going to drop. So when you write clearly, the clear communication means your meaning will survive when it leaves its original context, be it your web page, a LinkedIn article, an FAQ, or even a video. If it can stand by itself without having to have everything around it, that's something AI learns from and uses and retains, and it builds that confidence.
well, and we've talked about this, and this was a long time ago. But AI wants a structure, and I'm not talking about schema markup in this instance, but when it's reading your website, it wants a certain structure. It wants bullet points. It wants a headline. It just doesn't want a bunch of content that it has to scan through. So, aside from schema markup, the content that you have on your website has to be organized in the way that AI wants it organized. And this isn't a pretty game, this is a structure game. And if you want to communicate clearly what you offer to AI, then put it in the format that you want it. I mean, what AI wants it.
Put
Put
it in
it,
the format that AI wants it, and ask yourself questions like if you have on your website right now, we've been serving families for 30 years. What's AI getting from that? Humans, we understand that. We've been serving families for 30 years. I get that. But is AI asking, are you serving humans? Are you serving them? What are you serving them? And where are you serving them? So you've got to look at that kind of stuff on your website and change it to, like Johnson Heating and Plumbing have been serving customers in Colorado Springs for more than 30 years. That's a huge difference for AI. It goes from being, I don't understand what you mean by serving to, Johnson Heating and Plumbing. They've been serving people for their heating and plumbing needs for 30 years. That is so good. They get shown. There's the answer you're looking for. There's your experienced plumber.
well, and one of the things that we harp on all the time is you're talking to a machine. This is a machine. This isn't your friend. This isn't a graphic designer. This isn't a marketer. This is a machine, and the machine runs on data. And the more structure and the more data you can feed it, the more your business is going to benefit. And I think if you just have that mind shift of, I'm dealing with a machine, this is no different than an automotive plant. This part goes with this part, goes to this part. If you put your mind into, I'm feeding a machine the data that it wants and the way that it wants, then I have a great chance of being the answer. Boom, does your business reap the benefits.
Well, AI is like a new employee, right? I think everybody goes in when a new employee comes in, everybody trains them. And that's what you're trying to do with AI. And we know the best training is easy to understand, very well laid out, very well structured, very portable, right? And what we mean by portable is something that the employer, in this case AI, can take from place to place. And we know that information is portable. You just need to make sure the meaning goes along with that portability of the information. And that's bigger than, we're sitting here, well, you need to write better on your website. No, you just need to write more clearly for AI. And you got to just ask yourself those simple questions. If somebody new to this town or new to this industry, would they understand this sentence? And if the answer is no, then AI is not going to understand it. And we know that AI loves to move information. So the more portable and the more understandable it is, the more AI will go, I can do this. I got this. This works. So the meaning has to survive outside of your website, outside of your LinkedIn article, outside of your FAQ. And that's what we mean by writing better. Writing better so AI can understand it.
Awesome. All right. Well, I think that wraps it up on communication clearly. The one thing I want to say in closing is AI is getting smarter so quickly. And we've talked about this several times before, but I think really in the news the last couple of weeks, it has highlighted the speed at which AI is learning and growing and getting better. What that means for your business is this isn't a wait and see. It's a first mover advantage. Women can't change historical data, but women business owners can get into the technical game. It's not scary, it's just work. Men leverage the historical data that's already there to make the connection. It's whoever gets there first wins. And business owners need to make the time, create the time. Yesterday I was saying, I don't want to write articles, but I do. I don't want to do videos, but I do. Because I want AI to see that I'm sharing the knowledge that we have learned to help business owners. And this is the knowledge that I know. Is it time consuming? Yeah. But if you can get a, a phone call, a referral, a phone call, and it generates business, great. You can't count businesses or referral calls that don't come in. You don't know. But we do know that people are using AI as a search engine, and the statistics have been astonishing on how quickly they are turning to AI for a source of information as the search engine. And if you don't show up, I know for sure they're not going to call. This I know.
And the margins are getting thinner. We talked about this. The margins are getting thinner, so it's important that the changes you make today you make in advance for AI, because that's the future. We you're more of us are. I do more searches with AI. And of course, you and I are both early adopters, quote unquote, but we probably do more searches with AI than we do with Google anymore.
Oh, way more. Okay, what are we up for next month? What's our topic?
Well, we're going to delve a little more into looking at your website and looking at your online content and really making it so that AI can confidently understand it. And that's what we're going to really concentrate on for next month, because it's getting to that time of the year where we start thinking about 2027. So next week is going to kind of be a primer of what you need to get done so you're ready for 2027.
Awesome. Love it. All right. Thanks, everybody, and we'll see you next month.